Prince William never expected this. When he opened his late mother, Princess Diana's sealed jewelry box, untouched for nearly 28 years, he braced for memories, maybe tears. But what he found? A hidden letter, buried behind a false panel, and one name tied to its mysterious placement: Camilla. The envelope wasn't listed. The handwriting? Diana's. And the message inside would shake the royal heir to his core. What was Camilla doing near Diana's things in 2010? And why was this letter kept secret? Until now. The prince's rage was instant, and behind palace walls, all hell broke loose. William opens Diana's jewelry box. It happened in September 2025, inside the royal archives at Kensington Palace. Prince William, now heir to the throne, had quietly requested access to one of the last untouched pieces of his mother's legacy, her private jewelry box. It hadn't been opened since 1997, the year Princess Diana died. Protected with an antique lock and a 4-digit code, the box had been sealed under tight security for 28 years. When William turned the key and the lid creaked open, the air felt heavy. What he found inside wasn't what anyone expected. The top layer held what he imagined: family jewels, her sapphire earrings, a gold charm bracelet, and a folded silk scarf she used to wear. But just beneath a loose velvet pouch, something odd caught his eye. A hidden compartment, thin but carefully constructed. Inside it, a yellowing envelope, sealed. No royal seal, no date. Just 6 handwritten words: "For my sons." When time allows, William froze. This wasn't on any inventory. No one had mentioned it. His hands trembled as he picked it up. Alone now, he had dismissed the aides. He turned it over several times before sitting down. The room around him seemed to vanish. Could this be from Diana? Or something else? The envelope was thick. He could feel more than one page. It had weight, not just physically, but emotionally. He didn't open it immediately. Instead, he called the palace security director. Something wasn't right, and William needed answers before he touched another thing. Within hours, staff were tracing logs and reviewing the chest's access history. Only a few names had clearance after 2005. William's, Harry's, a royal archivist. And in 2010, one more: Camilla. That entry changed everything. What began as a search for heirlooms had now turned into a possible royal mystery. A sealed letter, hidden in Diana's jewelry chest, with Camilla's name quietly buried in the access logs? Questions buzzed behind the scenes. Who placed that envelope there? And more importantly, what did it say? As night fell over Kensington, William returned to the envelope. With a deep breath, he finally broke the seal. What he read inside would shake him and the monarchy to its core. The hidden item. The letter wasn't dated. It had no signature. Yet from the first few lines, William could tell the handwriting was his mother's. Slanted, elegant, unmistakable. The ink had faded, but the message remained sharp. It wasn't a will. It wasn't a love note. It was a 9-page letter, handwritten on thick royal stationery. And what it described was staggering. It mentioned events from 1995, conversations behind closed doors, and a name that kept repeating: Camilla. Diana wrote of trusts broken, agreements twisted, and a fear that her memory would be repackaged by those who never knew me. She warned her sons to watch the shadows of the crown and to ask who benefits when silence wins. There was a specific incident in May 1996, a meeting she referenced, one William didn't recognize. The name of a private secretary from that year was underlined. Diana had known something, and she'd tried to warn them. One line stood out. "If this note survives me, then so have the lies." William read it 3 times. There was also a final instruction: keep the letter sealed until a forensic expert could verify the ink and paper. She'd written, "They will say I imagined it. Prove I didn't." The wording was chilling. It felt less like a note and more like a time capsule built to explode. The physical letter added to the mystery. There was a 1990s watermark on the paper. The ink matched pens used by Kensington staff at the time. Even the fold marks suggested it had been tucked away for years. But if Diana truly left this, why hadn't anyone found it until now? And how had Camilla's name ended up in the access logs? Camilla's role. The palace logs didn't lie. In March 2010, Camilla had entered the secure vaults beneath Kensington Palace. The same month, the jewelry box was moved during a refurbishment of the Diana wing. She'd been granted access for legacy review purposes, supposedly to inspect family heirlooms before a royal exhibit. But now, with that letter in hand, William couldn't ignore it. Why was Camilla ever near Diana's personal effects? And more chilling, had she placed the letter there herself? Whispers began to circulate among senior aides. A retired curator, speaking under anonymity, recalled how Camilla had taken a special interest in Diana's things. She'd asked to view personal pieces, citing a desire to preserve history. Some believed it, others didn't. One former aide remembered a moment in 2011 when Camilla had requested a private review of artifacts with no staff present. Looking back, that moment seemed far more suspicious. The method used to hide the letter pointed to something intentional. The false panel it had been slipped behind was part of the original chest, but few even knew it existed. It required removing a tiny nail and lifting a silk-lined baseplate. Only someone familiar with the chest, or guided by someone who was, could have used it. The placement wasn't careless, it was deliberate. And it meant someone wanted the letter hidden, but not destroyed. Camilla's possible motivation? Some suggested she believed she was protecting Diana's legacy, or even trying to control how it was remembered. Others believed darker theories, that she feared what the letter might reveal. One senior advisor noted she once described herself as a caretaker of history, but now that phrase felt ominous. Had Camilla crossed a line meant never to be touched? William couldn't stay silent. Too much didn't add up. He'd found a letter that seemed meant for him and Harry, hidden where it never should have been. And Camilla's unexplained presence near Diana's private belongings had triggered every alarm. The time for quiet inquiry was over. William needed answers, and only one person could give them. What followed next was not a polite royal exchange. Behind closed doors, fury erupted, and the future queen faced the heir in a moment that would change everything. Confrontation behind closed doors. The confrontation happened on a Thursday afternoon, behind the thick doors of Clarence House. Only a handful of people were aware it was even taking place. William had requested Camilla meet him in private. No aides, no notes, no press. What was meant to be a 20-minute discussion exploded into over an hour of rising voices, accusations, and one chilling sentence from William. "You crossed a line that can never be uncrossed." William laid out everything: access logs, the letter, and the placement of the envelope. Camilla listened at first, hands clasped tightly, but when he directly asked whether she had handled the letter, she deflected. "I don't recall every detail from 15 years ago," she reportedly said. "I had permission." "From your father." That sentence froze the air. If King Charles had approved her access, it meant more people were involved. Camilla didn't break down, but she wasn't composed either. Sources say her voice cracked when she defended herself. "I never wanted to hurt Diana," she said. I wanted to keep her safe from being twisted by others. But William wasn't having it. You don't get to decide what parts of her survive, he snapped. That was for her sons to do. The words hung in the air like thunder. When the door finally opened, Camilla left without a word. William remained inside for another 30 minutes. Aides described him as ashen, barely speaking. One advisor later told a confidant, "I've never seen him that angry." Not even after the Oprah interview that day marked a rupture, not just between William and Camilla, but within the royal power circle itself. With tensions at boiling point, damage control kicked in. But the private confrontation couldn't stay private for long. Whispers spread through palace corridors, and staff sensed the storm. Camilla knew she had to act, quickly. The story was out of her hands, and the air was furious. Now, to survive, she needed her own narrative. A public reckoning was coming. Before it exploded, Camilla offered her side of the story, one that painted her not as a villain, but as a misunderstood guardian of Diana's memory. Camilla's defense. Camilla's version of events was carefully crafted. She didn't deny accessing the vault, but claimed it was authorized and routine. She insisted she had never read or hidden any personal documents. "If a letter was in that chest, it was not placed there by me," she stated in a closed meeting with Palace Legal Counsel. She even hinted that the letter might have always been there, missed during prior inspections. But few inside the palace believed her. Her strongest defense came down to one claim. King Charles had given her permission. Aides confirmed she had accompanied him during a 2010 inspection of Diana's stored items, part of preparations for the 30th anniversary of her marriage to Charles. But permission to view was not permission to tamper. And Charles, now caught in the crossfire, refused to comment publicly, further deepening suspicion. Camilla argued that her only goal was preservation. She claimed she feared Diana's legacy could be manipulated by outsiders and wanted to ensure everything stayed within the family. There was no deception, she told senior advisors, only caution. But the optics were devastating, especially with Diana's name, voice, and warnings now echoing from beyond the grave. Publicly, Camilla remained composed, but internally, allies worried. Was her story believable enough? Or had she underestimated how fiercely the public, and especially William, would defend Diana's legacy? As the storm gathered, one thing was certain. The monarchy had not seen a scandal this intimate in decades. Leak to the press. Just days after the confrontation, the first headline dropped, and it hit like a bomb. William uncovers hidden letter from Diana, Camilla linked to vault access, blared across the front page of the Daily Gazette on October 3, 2025. Within hours, the story was everywhere. From Sky News to global tabloids, the speculation was relentless. Who leaked it? Palace sources pointed to a disgruntled aide, recently dismissed after 15 years in royal service. The timing was no accident. Social media caught fire. Hashtags like #DIANASLETTER, #VAULTGATE, and #JUSTICEFORDIANA exploded across platforms. Twitter threads dissected every word of the alleged letter. TikTok videos racked up millions of views, dramatizing the moment William opened the box. Pundits were called in. Experts analyzed handwriting, palace protocol, and whether Camilla could truly claim innocence. Public opinion began to split, but not evenly. Sympathy surged for Diana, and for William, seen now as the defender of his mother's true voice. The palace, caught off guard, issued a vague statement. Private family matters remain just that, private. The Prince of Wales remains committed to honoring his mother's legacy with dignity and respect. It wasn't enough. The silence only fueled the fire. The lack of denial, especially from Camilla's camp, raised eyebrows. And with the letter's existence now public, reporters began demanding access to the document itself. The pressure was relentless. Camilla responded days later through a BBC interview with a longtime friend. "I never touched that letter. I would never disrespect Diana," she said. Her voice was calm, but the damage was done. The public had already chosen sides, and for many, the narrative was simple. Camilla, the woman blamed for Diana's heartbreak, had interfered with her final message. Whether true or not, it stuck. The leak changed everything. What had been a private royal crisis was now a global spectacle. Every media outlet had picked a side, and with the public watching, the pressure on the palace intensified. But the real storm was online, where the court of public opinion had already delivered its verdict. Camilla was under siege, William was lionized, and the royal family found itself once again at war over the ghost of Diana. As the dust settled, an even deeper divide began to show. Inside the family itself, public reaction. The response was electric. Within 24 hours of the leak, a YouGov poll revealed a shocking shift. 71% of respondents believed William had every right to expose the letter, while only 16% supported Camilla's actions. Messages flooded Kensington Palace, letters, emails, even floral tributes from across the country addressed to the true princess. Diana's memory had awakened something powerful, and for Camilla, the backlash was worse than expected. Among the royals, things turned cold. Princess Anne reportedly refused to be in the same room as Camilla during a recent family lunch. Prince Edward stayed silent, but aides noted a sharp drop in communication between his office and Clarence House. Even Charles, usually unflappable, looked deeply strained during a royal engagement in Edinburgh. Behind the scenes, trust was cracking, and the monarchy knew it. On social media, a battle erupted. Diana's supporters shared throwback photos, calling her England's Eternal Rose. Others demanded the release of the full letter. Hashtags like #Queen of Hearts Forever and #Not My Queen Camilla began trending. Meanwhile, Camilla's defenders, fewer but vocal, argued she was a scapegoat, punished for a past she couldn't change. But the public mood was clear. William was standing up for his mother, and many saw him as the only royal acting with integrity. Brands even pulled back. A high-profile fashion house canceled a planned collaboration with Camilla, citing concerns over public sentiment. Charity appearances were postponed. An upcoming documentary about Diana's legacy, scheduled for November, was now the most anticipated royal program in years. And with each day, Camilla's position felt less secure. As the public rallied behind William and Diana's memory, palace insiders began whispering comparisons to history. This wasn't the first time a royal scandal had ripped through the monarchy, and if it continued unchecked, it wouldn't be the last. The weight of the past, of Diana's battles, of the institution's secrets, was returning with full force. Now, experts began drawing lines between then and now. Because when you look closely, this wasn't just a story about a letter. It was about history repeating itself. Historical parallels. Diana's war with the palace wasn't new, and now it seemed her posthumous message had reignited it. Experts pointed to the infamous 1995 Panorama interview, where she uttered the now iconic line, "There were 3 of us in this marriage." That scandal nearly broke the crown. Now, 30 years later, another storm, this time from a hidden letter, was threatening to do the same. The pattern was undeniable: secrecy, betrayal, silence. Then, revelation. Royal historians began tracing other troubling parallels. In 1963, Queen Elizabeth's cousin was caught in a scandal involving letters, and the fallout took years to repair. In 1936, the abdication crisis shattered tradition. And now, in 2025, the ghost of Diana had returned to challenge the very institution that once tried to quiet her. One expert warned, "Every time the palace buries something, it comes back stronger." The public agreed. Camilla's own history with Diana-era documents was now under scrutiny. In 2005, a royal exhibit mysteriously excluded several of Diana's handwritten notes. Rumors swirled then, but no proof emerged. Until now. A former staffer claimed that palace aides were instructed to filter what could be shown. That claim, once ignored, now returned with sharp new relevance. Had the palace always tried to shape Diana's legacy behind closed doors? The lessons were clear and painful. Every attempt to manage the narrative had failed. From secret letters to suppressed interviews, the royal family's past was catching up with its present. And now, the world was watching, not with reverence, but with suspicion. If the monarchy didn't face this scandal head-on, history would judge them all over again. What this means for Camilla, William, and the King. By mid-October 2025, the royal family was in full crisis mode. Public faith was rattled. Media pressure was mounting. But inside the walls of Buckingham Palace, three names mattered most: Camilla, William, and the King. The discovery of Diana's hidden letter hadn't just exposed old wounds. It had destabilized the entire structure of trust at the monarchy's core. And the biggest question now, what comes next? For Queen Camilla, her role had never felt more fragile. Though technically secure in her title, her credibility was collapsing fast. Private polls reportedly showed over 60% of Britons no longer viewed her as a positive presence in the royal family. Charities associated with her began reconsidering their partnerships. Even palace insiders whispered of a soft exile, a quiet reduction in her duties, fewer appearances, and a step back from Diana-related engagements. Her image, carefully rebuilt over 2 decades, was shattering. Prince William, on the other hand, had never looked stronger. Though he hadn't spoken in detail publicly, his calm resolve and quiet strength made headlines. The Times called him the last moral compass of the crown. Some advisors saw this moment as a pivot, one that could accelerate his influence within the institution. Talks of granting him more internal authority, even before Charles stepped down, began circulating. William had become more than the heir. He was now the protector of a legacy millions still mourned. And what of King Charles? He found himself in an impossible position, torn between wife and son, between duty and loyalty. Insiders revealed that he had not spoken to William in 9 days after the confrontation. One senior aide described Charles as haunted by the fallout. His silence was seen by some as guilt, by others as self-preservation. But either way, he was forced to confront the truth. Camilla's actions, or even her proximity to the scandal, could cost them all dearly. The fallout was more than emotional. It was structural. Discussions about revisiting vault access procedures, rewriting legacy protocols, and creating a public digital archive of Diana's letters were already underway. This wasn't just a family drama anymore. It was a fight for the future of the monarchy and its moral foundation. With trust broken and alliances fraying, the crown stood on a knife's edge. Camilla's influence was fading, William's star was rising, and Charles was paralyzed by the consequences of secrets long buried. But one question still lingered in the shadows. Was that letter the only thing hidden in Diana's vault? Forensic teams had only just begun their work. And behind palace doors, another wave of fear was rising. Because what they might find next could tear the House of Windsor apart. For good. What's next? Inside the secure chambers of St. James's Palace, a team of forensic experts began scanning Diana's jewelry box with infrared light and X-ray imaging. Their mission? To find any additional documents, hidden notes, or sealed compartments. Within days, 2 anomalies were flagged. Sections of the box base that seemed artificially dense. Could there be more letters? Hidden recordings? No one dared speculate publicly, but whispers said even William wasn't prepared for what might come next. Meanwhile, legal warfare loomed. Camilla's legal team, advised by a top-tier firm in London, began preparing a confidentiality suit to block further publication of the letter's contents. At the same time, Diana's former secretary offered to testify that similar letters had once been earmarked for a private archive, but were moved or erased over the years. The palace feared lawsuits from both sides, Camilla's team versus publishers, and William's team pushing for full public disclosure. Camilla wasn't backing down. In private, she told close friends that if the narrative against her continued, she would release evidence of her own. Documents, diary entries, and emails from 2004 to 2015 that allegedly show her efforts to maintain peace within the family. "If I go down," she reportedly said, "I'm not going alone." Advisors urged caution, but her patience was thinning, and her legacy was now on life support. And William? He remained silent, but sources say he's considering a televised statement or even allowing the entire letter to be published in full, possibly before Remembrance Day. There's also talk of a quiet alliance with Prince Harry, whose stance on Diana's treatment has never wavered. Could the brothers reunite, even temporarily, to defend their mother's voice? No one knows for sure. But the most haunting question of all? Was that truly the only letter Diana left behind? As the box is studied inch by inch and the family braces for the next revelation, one thing is certain. This story isn't over. It's only just begun. The royal walls are cracking, and the truth can't stay buried. Camilla's silence has only fueled the fire, while William's determination to honor Diana is burning brighter than ever. As experts scan the jewelry box for more secrets, whispers grow louder. Was this only the beginning? Will the next revelation finally destroy the fragile peace inside the monarchy? One thing's certain, this royal storm isn't over. In fact, the fiercest battle for Diana's legacy may still lie ahead. Stay tuned, because what comes next could rewrite everything we thought we knew about the House of Windsor.